everybody? Welcome to TTP Sports. Man, it's a crazy day in Flyers world, huh? Was not expecting to talk about this. Was not expecting to talk about this. And now, this is not going to be a freaking stream. This is not going to be a whole thing where I'm just spreading rumors, trying to say things that are probably clearly false or anything like that. I'm not trying to spread anything here. This is more going to be barroom discussion. Barroom discussion, therapy session for people that, see the link on Twitter and they want to join here on the stream, because a lot of crap, well, not a lot of crap, just one gigantic crap happened with the Flyers world today. And it does revolve around yesterday's game, not from the game specifically, what happened after the game, resulting into today and all that stuff, just like an overlapping type of thing. And it does have to revolve around the captain of the Flyers, Sean Couturier, and young Matvei Michkov. So, it's a whole weird situation, and I really just don't know what to believe. I don't know if there's something to this. I don't know if there's anything really. If this is all just hearsay. If this is just, just shooting shit at the cannon, or shooting shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. I don't know what it is, and this is more of a barroom type of discussion to try to connect some dots and just talk it through and see if things make sense, see if things don't make sense, and for also people that are being very frustrated by the events that occurred from today, that's just basically going on through Twitter. Basically a therapy session, just so people can get their frustrations out and all of that stuff. This is mainly what this is for. I'm not trying to spread rumors. I'm just basically trying to figure things out. If it's true, if it's not true, whatever it is. So basically, the entire summary of what you can do from today is that it just sounds like Sean Couturier is taking shots at Matvei Michkov, whether it's intentionally, whether it's not intentionally, just with the way that he used his words. This was from yesterday's press conference or post-game from the Flyers' 3-2 overtime loss against the Ottawa Senators. And then, the whole situation with the overtime where Sean Couturier looked mad about, going offside in the 3-on-3 when he was on the ice with Matvei Michkov. Matvei Michkov cuts to the middle to enter the zone. Couturier, I guess, didn't read it well, and he went offside. And you saw the video with Couturier being very frustrated. He was visibly frustrated on the bench and everything like that. And then, apparently, that video got deleted off Twitter. Not by the person that posted it, though. Someone completely different posted it, and I guess somebody completely different requested that the video got taken down, and the video ended up getting taken down. Whether that's the Flyers, I have no idea. So, that was weird. And then you get the whole conglomeration of what was today of, just the entire thing with the whole Sean Couturier and Matvei Michkov thing. So, the Flyers Twitter, they didn't post every single player interview on Twitter. I think they only posted Travis Konecny's. If I'm to be right there, I think it's only Travis Konecny's post-game interview that was on Twitter. But they always post all the other players on their YouTube channel. So you have it from the YouTube channel. You have, I think it was Michkov that spoke, but his translator, Couturier, spoke, and then a couple of other players spoke, I believe, as well. So, and people are really going on the Sean Couturier interview, and I do have the audio for you, the one segment of the interview that people are really hammering down and really bashing Sean Couturier for what he's talking about in respect to Matvei Michkov. And yes, when I do hear the interview and when I try to connect the dots from the whole frustration that we saw with Couturier yesterday, Rick Tocchet had a quote today after their practice with talking about how much Matvei Michkov respects Sean Couturier and everything like that. And there was also a picture of him and Couturier Couturier and Michkov on the ice, one-on-one with Rick Tocchet, I guess discussing a play design or something like that. So I'm not entirely sure what was going on there. But it's just like a weird state of events that I'm just trying to figure out here. And things just feel weird. Things feel odd. And I really don't know if there's really anything to this. Now, granted, a lot of the main Flyers reporters on media will probably tell you you're thinking way too much into this, and there's really nothing to this whatsoever. It was just Sean Couturier, giving his comeuppance to Matvei Michkov for getting on the score sheet and saying that, stuff when he was struggling needs to be better and blah, 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 blah. But a lot of other people that were on the negative side took it as Sean Couturier taking slight, I would say, shots at Matvei Michkov for when you're not scoring, you got to do things that help the team out to win when you're not going well. And a lot of people talk about Couturier's body language during the interview, how his eyes really weren't focused on the media. They were more focused on looking at the ground and everything like that. It's weird. It's weird. This whole thing is just very, very, very weird. And I try to think back to, okay, why, if there is some animosity right here, why would Sean Couturier be feeling so much animosity right here? Now, just like my entire thoughts on the entire thing, if he is calling out Matvei Michkov, it's not the right thing to do to the media. You don't go calling out a player if you're a teammate to the media. That's something that you settle within the locker room. Oh, yeah, also something that I forgot to point out too, with going on with a possible thing of animosity between Matvei Michkov possibly and the teammates in the locker room. If you see Matvei Michkov's goal against the Ottawa Senators, where he made it 2-1 Ottawa, got the Flyers back into the game, nobody on the ice is excited. Nobody on the ice besides Matvei Michkov is like excited at all that Michkov scored, or even excited that they got back into the game. They're just like ho-humming it, no sticks raised or anything like that. Really, the only person that looked like had a slight reaction was Dvorak, and that was more looked like it was just reactionary to what just happened. But I think other players that were on the ice, I think Konechny was on the ice, and I think a couple of the other, whoever the defensemen were on the ice at that time, they didn't look excited. There really wasn't a reaction/celebration that Michkov scored to get them back within the game. So that felt weird. And then when you connected the dots with everything else, it still just continues to feel weird. So when I tried to think about everything, and this is going back to just the whole thing with the offseason with Matvei Michkov, and Michkov also did in his interview state that he didn't train for 4 months, or he didn't practice for 4 months and everything like that. With whatever happened in the offseason with Matvei Michkov, I have no idea. Whether it's the whole thing with the ankle injury, whether the ankle injury wasn't true, or the ankle injury was more serious than they were trying to lay it on, or he just simply didn't train enough in the offseason, or train not really much at all for 4 straight months, and the guys in the locker room don't appreciate that because they feel betrayed by that, and maybe that's why there's a little bit of animosity going on right there. There's just, like I keep saying, there is something weird. Something's off, and I'm just trying to see if I can connect some dots. I'm not trying to spread anything. I'm not trying to start anything. Majority of a lot of people are starting a lot of things on Twitter. I'm just trying to connect dots here. That's basically it. So if somebody comes to me, tries to tell me privately, hey, you're looking too much into this, or no, you're on to something or something like that, that's basically it there. That's what I'm trying to find something. I'm trying to find something and see if it sticks to the wall. That's basically it. So I did list the time of events right here on Twitter just so I have it. So, really the only thing that I mixed up with the time of events was I thought Couturier's comments were from today after practice. No, they were from after post-game yesterday. So, basically, like I said, list of events. Matvei Michkov scores yesterday. Nobody on the ice looks excited at all. Couturier gets pissed off at the offsides in the overtime, whether he was pissed off at himself or pissed off at Matvei Michkov for cutting into the middle and then making Coots go off sides, which still at the end of the day, Couturier is more at fault at that because you got to realize where the puck carrier is. Then that video that was on Twitter surfacing of Couturier being pissed off on the bench and really just looking mopey, just not even like looking at Matvei Michkov at all, just not even like, just saying like, hey man, made a mistake, dapping him up, we'll get him next time. Nope, he just looked like there, shoulders shrugged, looking down on the floor, just looking mad, just not even acknowledging Michkov, anything like that. That definitely rubbed me the wrong way a little bit. Then that video got taken down. It wasn't by the person that posted it, and it wasn't the Flyers that posted it. Somebody got it requested to be taken down. So I'm not sure who that was. It probably in that case it's the Flyers. Then you get the quote. Then you also get Couturier talking about Matvei Michkov after post game and all that stuff. I do have the audio about that, so I'll play it in a little bit. Then you have Talk's quote from practice earlier today. So I have it right here. I just got to pull it up. So Talk's quote. Rick Tocchet said that he could tell Michkov really respects Sean Couturier, said that he was trying to explain something to Michkov in practice today, and when Couturier skated over to help explain, Michkov immediately looked to the Flyers captain. So, now granted, that's, like, I don't know what to try to draw from that. It kind of, realistically, because the Flyers definitely did like do damage control with the whole thing with Michkov coming from the offseason and all that stuff with the ankle injury. When you hear all the reports from Spit and Chicklets and all that stuff saying Michkov showed in out of shape, then you got the comment basically directly after from Rick Tocchet saying that he had an injured ankle in the offseason, which basically nobody knew about. That just basically came out of nowhere. So it believed to, a lot of people saying, oh, that's a made up injury because he came in completely out of shape. So maybe there's something to that. And maybe there's a little bit of damage control. Maybe did somebody get in Sean Couturier's ear? I'm not entirely sure. But let me get to the audio here from Couturier. Let me get to the audio here from Couturier. So you guys can understand, maybe you could take your own thoughts about this. But a lot of people are there's more negative to this than I would say positive towards this comment from Couturier. A lot of Flyers fans are taking this like really bad. Really, really, really bad.
I think it's...
And let's see. Oh, I have my freaking thing muted. I apologize for that. Now let's hear the audio.
I think it's... Yeah, he's a great goal scorer and has a lot of skill. I think you just got to find a way to contribute to helping the team win in other ways when you're struggling. You're not always going to be scoring goals every game. So, I thought I've seen improvement in the way he's, not cheating as much and being on the right side of pucks. And, I'm sure it's a little different for him, but, if he sticks to playing, more the right way, I think it's going to be better for the team overall.
Have you sensed a weight off his shoulders a little bit after scoring that goal in Nashville and then tonight as well?
I think so. I think you can tell tonight he was trying to make a lot of plays with the puck, holding on to the puck. I think he's definitely, feeling good about himself.
So I want to re-rack that a little bit there because it's more the beginning, I think, that a lot of people are having the issue with Michkov or the issue with the comment.
I think it's... Yeah, he's a great goal scorer and has a lot of skill. I think you just got to find a way to contribute to helping the team win in other ways when you're struggling. You're not always going to be scoring goals every game. So
he's a great goal scorer and he has a lot of skill. Then he goes, A lot of people like to say, oh, he really wants to say but in this entire thing. And like you got to contribute in other ways when you're not scoring to help the team win. And a lot of, we've heard about a lot of that stuff. A lot of the Flyers aren't happy. Tocchet has talked about it a bunch with having to have Michkov play the right way, having to, I'm assuming no one's a fan of him cherry picking. For some reason, a lot of people have issues when he cherry picks in the neutral zone, which if people don't understand what cherry picking is, it's when the forward exits the neutral zone expecting an outlet pass when, the other team's in your defensive zone and you force a turnover, you get the puck, the forward gets back behind the defenseman for the opposing team and is expecting an outlet pass trying to get a breakaway. And that's basically cherry picking, Michkov trying to get breakaways. He did it a lot last year, and he did find a lot of success last year, with that style and playing the way that he plays. And a lot of the issue that a lot of Flyers fans have is the fact that they're always so critical of Michkov's style of cherry picking and just the way that he's not responsible defensively, and how when he cherry picks, obviously when you cherry pick, that's a huge risk because say if you do force a turnover, but then you turn the puck right back over, you're basically down 5v4 in the defensive zone, and that one forward's trying to get back, and that could end very bad for you. So there's so many things from Tocchet already this year, and I'm not sure if any players have brought that up about the whole cherry picking thing with Matvei Michkov, but that's really a part of his game. So a lot of players cherry pick, so it's not just specifically a Matvei Michkov thing. This is not a new phenomenon in the NHL whatsoever. And that's basically it. I feel like that's where a lot of the complaints that I've heard about Michkov's game in terms of Flyers people that talk about that, and it's really just that he's not responsible defensively. And The one thing that I will complain about is they always talk about we got to get them to play the right way. And I'm just like, okay, what is the definition of playing the right way? I just completely don't understand that. Because I've heard this so many times with this organization in general. This is not just a Matvei Michkov thing. This is a lot when they talk about their young players that come up. Oh, we got to play. Got to get them to play the right way. Got to get him to play the right way. He's got to play the right way, 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 the right way. What is the right way? What is? Can someone define me in the Flyers organization what the right way is? Because, and this is where I go towards the negative side of the back of my mind. Well, what is the right way? How can you determine what the right way is if you've been realistically an irrelevant organization for so long? Really? Because if you just think about this, when was the last time the Flyers were like realistically a consistent, like, playoff threat, Stanley Cup contender threat? A very long time ago at this point. It's been a very long time. You're talking about since like around last year, the 2012 season was probably their last true threat of being a pure Stanley Cup contender. And then after that, it was in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out of the playoffs for a long stretch. And then basically this back stretch to where they're missing the playoffs basically consistently at this rate, and they really can't even sniff it. And this is not just like this regime type of thing. This is basically a couple of Flyers regimes that have always had to stress about players playing the right way. And I don't understand what the right way is. Why specifically does Matvei Michkov have to play the right way? Because when I look at a lot of young players around the league, is San Jose worried about Macklin Celebrini playing the right way? Or are they just letting him be himself, and that's what's having him, tops in scoring in the National Hockey League? Connor Bedard with the Chicago Blackhawks. This is his true breakout year. Do you think the Chicago Blackhawks are worried about Connor Bedard playing the right way? Or are they just letting him be himself, and that's translating to success? And the same could be said for so many other young players around the league. Just so many stars in general around the league. Are these franchises so worried about these star players playing in the right way? I don't think they are. You got to let them be themselves. And granted, I'm not trying to deflect blame off Michkov, because yes, he did show in the camp out of shape. He didn't do anything for 4 months. That is true. That is what he said. Whether it was because of an ankle injury or not, that's going to reflect bad on the player. But he's looking better game after game, and it looks like he's just stuck in this limbo of whatever the Flyers are trying to preach. And granted, I don't think this is going to go into a stretch where, the really doom and gloom Flyers fans are, and like, oh, this is going to go into a stretch where Michkov requests a trade out of the city and doesn't want to play for this franchise anymore. I don't think it's going to get to that stretch. I really do not think that. If Michkov is so, I'm not content, but so like, when he was at the draft, like he always wanted to be a Flyer. I know it, people can go back to Cutter Gauthier said that he wanted to be a Flyer, blah, 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 blah. But like, just hear me out here. If Michkov did everything that he did possible to probably get drafted by the Flyers, not interviewing with certain teams, saying no to certain teams, that he would basically only be drafted by the Flyers, and he wanted to win a Stanley Cup in Philadelphia, blah, 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 blah. I think it would take a lot to get this guy to get requested out of town, to request a trade out of town. I don't think it's going to go to that length of extreme. I think Michkov's too good of a player to where if they try to hinder his game, he's going to find a way to still be good. I really do feel like that could be the case, because I just do think that highly of Matvei Michkov as a player, and that highly of Matvei Michkov as a talented player in this league, to where if they try to do anything with his game, he'll still find a way to be great, because he is looking better game after game after game. Like, realistically, he just is. that is fact. And when he's looking better game after game, and now you're seeing the results go in with 2 goals in 2 straight games, goals in back-to-back games, there's definitely a method to that madness right there. And Michkov definitely said it himself that, and granted, this is through a translator, so you don't know if this is like fully 100%, like you could take this for word. Granted, obviously, it's not coming from Michkov's mouth, it's coming from his mouth to a translator, and there could always be mistranslation in there or something like that. I have no idea. But it's the fact that the entire way of where was I going with this? I lost my train of thought because I saw a couple of comments pop up. That's not your guys' fault. That's my fault for being distracted by the comments, but for the live chat. For the way of... I just don't think of trying to change his game is the one thing that's going to, like, get him to request a trade out of town, if that makes sense. Now, I don't know if this is just a fucking philosophy of the Flyers in all this stuff, and this is just continuing on from front office to front office to front office. I have no idea. I'm not sure if this is just a Tocchet thing. And granted, I was never high on the Tocchet hire to begin with. So this is coming from someone that had very much biased against hiring Tocchet, because I just thought, like, you know, it's nothing special. Nothing really special. And I do think there is some to the complaints that other teams, even granted he's only coached 2 teams in the National Hockey League as a head coach, you know, with Vancouver, a lot of Vancouver fans were very mad with Tocchet with the way that he forced change into Elias Pettersson's game, and he really hasn't been the same player since because they tried to really change the way that Pettersson plays. So maybe there is something to that, to where they're trying to change Matvei Michkov's game, and granted, you know, Tocchet has done some lying to where that we gotta, you know, work things through, like, Michkov's the face of the team, like, I gotta let him be himself and all that stuff, and then realistically Tocchet really hasn't given Michkov that opportunity to be himself, because he's only playing, like, what, 13, 14 minutes a night? Like, if I go to Matvei Michkov's just time on ice consistently, if I could just go to his game log, if that's even a thing, I'm sure it is a thing. So if I go to Matvei Michkov, try to look at his game log on his NHL.com thing, let me look at his time on ice. Let me look at his time on ice for this year. So if I go to game logs, if I go to time on ice, so far, yeah, he's averaging around, what was his average time on ice here? What's his average? Like, there really isn't an average right here. So if I just go to the most recent game against Ottawa, he played 14 minutes and 10 seconds. The game against Nashville, played 12 minutes and 52 seconds. The game against Montreal, played 15 minutes. Played Calgary, 13 minutes. Toronto, 15 minutes. Nashville, 14 minutes. So he's realistically just hovering around 14, 15 minutes average, I would say. Some nights there are the 18-minute nights, and that's been very rare this year for Michkov, but he's like in between 12 and 15 a night. That's basically where Michkov is hovering around. And yeah, a lot of people are very mad that Tocchet's not giving him more ice time, because you think that with a player of Michkov's capabilities, that more ice time would translate into him being better on the ice, would translate into him getting more points, which I do believe that could be a fact as well. Because like I said, with some of these other teams that have these young players, I think they put them into positions to succeed. I think that they put them in, you know, positions to where they're going to be successful. Hence, granted, I know San Jose, the Flyers, they're not really 1-to-1 in this situation right here, because San Jose did a full torn-down rebuild to the studs, and the Flyers did not. So Macklin Celebrini, I'm sure he's been giving a lot of ice time. So let me look at Macklin Celebrini's ice time, just to try to compare it to here. Just to I could try to prove a point or something like, yeah, if I look at Macklin Celebrini, look at his game. Let me look at his ice time from last year compared to this year. Yeah, he played a lot. He logged in a lot of ice time last year. A lot of ice time. There's a lot of 17s. There's a lot of 18s. There's a lot of 19s. There's some 20s. You know, he definitely logged a lot of ice time last year. If I look at this year with Macklin Celebrini, 16 minutes, 19 minutes, 18 minutes, 24 minutes, 22, 20, 19, 21, 22, 22, 20. He's been playing a lot. He's like almost getting at least 20 minutes. He's getting at least like 18 minutes a game. Like, that's drastically different compared to what the Flyers are doing with Michkov. And these guys are like around the same age, right? Yeah, Michkov's 20 and Celebrini, he's 19. So yeah, there's a little bit of a difference right there, but still basically, you know, 19, 20, there's not that much of a difference in the age gap. But yeah, Michkov's definitely not getting enough ice time, and I think the results lately have definitely warranted more ice time. And a lot of people also like to compare Michkov to Kucherov. I got a lot of people that talk to me like, oh, Kucherov, he's got to play like he has a Kucherov style and all that point. And I'm sure with the fucking Tampa Bay Lightning, actually, I want to see something with like Kucherov's like early years, because when Nikita Kucherov came into the league, the the Tampa Bay Lightning were a Stanley Cup contender when he came into the league, like around like 2014, 2015, and all that stuff. So his first year in the league was 2013-14. Like, what was his ice time? Well, of course, he got less ice time because they were a Stanley Cup contender. So, of course, as the years get along and Kucherov got better and better and better, he got more ice time. So I don't think that's a one-to-one comparison whatsoever at all. But I think just right now, people are just very annoyed with the way that the Flyers are just like it comes to the fact that there's just like there's always something with this team. There's always something with this team, and it's like an every year thing. Like nothing can just ever be fucking normal with this team. Something always has to arise. And now people are pointing out to this thing with there's possibly some animosity with the locker room in Matvei Michkov, and of course that's the case. And of course you have the fucking Couturier situation that came out of nowhere, and like of course and all that stuff. I think like where do I lean more towards in this situation? That's where I'm trying to debate. That's what like I always had discussions with myself about this entire thing, and I think more of the way I talk with myself more leans into the negative side of this entire thing because sometimes I don't want to give the Flyers the benefit of the doubt. I don't think they deserve the benefit of the doubt most of the time, just because of how irrelevant they have been for a long time at this point. So I think they do and they don't, because I have heard stuff about the inside that I just can't say about Matvei Michkov, even though I do think at this point it's in the public sphere. So I'm still just not going to say it to out anything. Right now it just feels like there's a disconnection, maybe, between Michkov and whatever the players, like, because it's hockey culture and all that stuff, right? Because if all this stuff, and I'm sure the people in the locker room know way more than us, apparently. Oh, not apparently, obviously. But if they know that Michkov didn't really train much in the offseason, 4 months off, didn't really do much, comes into camp out of shape, I'm sure, with hockey culture and all that stuff, people are going to feel betrayed. People are going to feel, what the fuck are you doing? So, and granted, people don't want to give Sean Couturier the benefit of that. I'm not trying to defend Sean Couturier here whatsoever. I don't like the comment from Sean Couturier. It feels very weird. Why are you doing that in the media? Why, even though like you're not saying it, like there's a little bit of like, if you look at the body language and you just like hear the words that he's saying, like something just feels weird. Something just feels off. And I don't know if this is a situation where the locker room just doesn't like Michkov, or everybody in the locker room doesn't like Michkov now and they lost respect for him just because of all the off-season stuff. I don't know. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I've asked people around, like, these people don't know. These people don't know. And of course, they probably wouldn't tell me anything, obviously. So I'm just trying to figure out, and I'm trying to connect the dots here. And right now, it just feels so weird. It feels very off right now, where we're just trying to, like, it's crazy because the Flyers and the record and all that stuff, like, they're off to a solid start to the year, even with some of the guys that are struggling. It's just like, why is there always something? Why can any season just be fucking, like, seriously, you're off to a solid start, you're 8-5-2, it's one of the best starts that you've had in so long as a franchise, and it's just like, why now? Why now all of a sudden is like shit needs to come out, or like conspiracized, or like we have to take small shots at like the future face of the franchise and all of that stuff? It just doesn't make sense to me. It's weird. It's weird. I just don't understand. And people are very mad with Sean Couturier because basically at this point he's the longest tenured Flyer, and I think he's actually the longest tenured athlete in the city of Philadelphia. Actually, he was, and then Brandon Graham just came back, so I think Brandon Graham still is the longest tenured athlete in Philadelphia, but Sean Couturier is the second, and that's crazy to even say. Like a lot of people, because there's so many other Flyers that are from that era that are gone now, and Couturier and I believe Konechny are like really the only remaining two guys from that long era of Flyers hockey where it wasn't good. It just wasn't good whatsoever. And those two guys are like the face of the leadership with this team, Couturier being a captain and Konechny being an alternate captain or assistant captain, associate captain, wherever he's got the fucking A on his chest. So, and it's just like, How am I supposed to, like, respect this guy as a captain if, like, how would I trust his leadership if he's been around for, like, the longest disappointing era of Flyers hockey in so long? Like, in their entire franchise history. Why would I trust that guy's leadership? Why would I entrust him as a captain? Oh, John Tortorella was right, because obviously there was a lot of animosity between John Tortorella and Sean Couturier, and you knew from Sean Couturier, he basically just kicked John Tortorella at the fucking door. Or, like, he kicked him when he was down, basically, during the fucking training camp and all that stuff, and how much he just didn't like Torts and, like, taking shots at the bag skating and all that stuff and all that crap. Like, Coots hated Torts. I think that's widely known. Sean Couturier and John Tortorella didn't see eye to eye. And then people like to point out that Matvei Michkov, he was the one to reach out to John Tortorella during the offseason after Torts got fired and all that stuff, because I do think there was a good bond between Torts and Michkov. I think there was something to that. And Torts definitely just let Michkov... And granted, John Tortorella was very critical of Matvei Michkov's game and all that stuff. I'm not saying he's like... He just let him get away with anything. No, like, obviously Torch scratched him a few times, and he definitely called him out a few times. But it definitely didn't feel like he was trying to change his game, if that makes sense. I don't think he was trying to do anything to change his game. I think he was still letting Michkov be himself because Torch realized that I just got to let him be himself. But he was still being Torch in the fact that he was challenging the kid, and he was, being very harsh to the kid, because I guess he also saw how much potential that he had. And it's basically one of those. And you did see a lot of success with Michkov last year. And right now, he gets off to the slow start. And granted, that probably has a lot to do with the offseason and coming in out of shape and all that stuff. And all this stuff with them trying to change the way he plays. It's so weird. And now that Michkov is starting to play better, and now the results are getting in there, there's just more weirdness. It just feels so weird. Like, I don't even know how much else to describe it. It just feels weird. So I really don't know. But something just feels off. Something just feels off. Something just feels insanely off. And I don't know if it's true. I don't know if there actually is something to it. Or there is something to it, and... of course, it's the Flyers. Why wouldn't there be something to it? And I just don't know where to go from there. Because it always just comes back to with the way that, like, and I explained this earlier, it's just like, why, if you're a team and you consider this guy the face of the franchise, and you're constantly just, like, talking about how skilled he is, how he's the future of this franchise, he's going to be a good player for a very long time, you would talk about his skill and blah, 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 blah. But then when you're so critical about the things that he doesn't do well, and then you basically just... you want to try to, like, completely reshape his game. I just don't understand that. That's the thing that I don't get. Like, why does a winger have to be more responsible defensively than the center? Now, I'm not saying that's what they're saying, but, like, the whole thing is they're trying to get... I'm assuming they're trying to get Michkov more defensively responsible. And I think that's the case. They want him to stop cherry picking and doing all that stuff. And I think Michkov is, because he definitely has had better habits in the past few games. But it's just like, why are we going to this extreme to try to change his habits? Now, granted, yes, I would like to try to change his habits of how he handles himself in the offseason. I think that's granted. I don't want a guy taking 4 months off, whether it was from an ankle injury or not. I would rather him definitely holding himself to a better standard and training throughout the entire offseason. Now, granted, I don't think the situation that happened in Dubai was his fucking fault. He was the passenger in the car, and a lot of people like to put... because it's basically just all... there's so much negative about Michkov in the offseason that everything that might not even be his fault is just tied negatively to him just because of how weird the offseason was and how much, like... crazy and, like, disappointment the offseason was from Michkov, that standpoint, which I can understand. But I still feel like, even with him being out of shape, I still feel like he's one of the better players out there on the ice, because he's just that talented. And maybe that can also tie to a man, like, if he actually did not take 4 months off and he focused on training, just imagine how much better he would be. So I think there is an argument to that. But I still don't agree with the fact that they're hindering his ice time. He's not even on fucking power play 1, to be real. He just isn't. He's on I think the other power play unit with like Couturier connecting and all that stuff. He's not even out there with Zegras. And that's also the one thing that bothers me too. Like, is this just a situation where like when Taka completely flipped the lines, or like right after Forrester went down with the injury? Like we're seeing Michkov with Rodrigo Albals and Christian Dvorak, and then eventually he swapped the lines to where Michkov's playing with Couturier and Bobby Brink. When Michkov was playing with Trevor Zegras, I think Michkov, that's when you started really seeing the progression of Michkov in his game. Like there was some, compatibility there with Trevor Zegras. I think there was. And we saw that in the preseason too when he was playing Zegras with Michkov. I think there was something to that. And now you're just constantly flip-flopping lines, whether it's just for the fact that Tyson Forrester is hurt and you need to find somebody to pair with Noah Cates and all that stuff. Maybe there is that fact, but it's just like, I don't know. I think Michkov played, and granted, I think Michkov's playing his best hockey right now. Like the game against Ottawa was his best game probably of the entire season, just from the look of a Matvei Michkov. And yes, maybe getting that goal in Nashville maybe woke him up a little bit more, because he did talk about, and like I said, this is all with a translator and all that stuff, so you really can't take word for word. But like he said that, with all the stuff with the off season, he came in, he wasn't focused and especially the struggling more made him focus even less. And then eventually, as the games went on, he started feeling better about himself, blah, 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 blah. And then eventually getting the goal, got the monkey off his back in Nashville. And, he feels really good right now. He feels like he's getting better game after game after game and all that stuff. So it's like a weird, right now, it feels like just like a weird bumpy road that I don't know where this is going. And I don't know where the end of the tunnel is. It's a bumpy road in a tunnel where I don't know where the end is. Whether there's light at the end of the tunnel, or this tunnel just keeps going on and on and on and on and on and on and on. I don't know where it leads us. Now, I don't think to the extent of what, the really misery Flyers fans are on social media, is that this will end up Michkov requesting a trade out of Philadelphia. I don't think it's going to get to that extent, obviously. I don't think it's going to get there. I hope not. I think you got to cater to the player more, and I think they're just not doing that. They're trying to change something in his game. They're clearly limiting his ice time, even though he's still playing fine, in my personal opinion. I never thought he's played terrible. Now, granted, there's Flyers fans that are siding with the organization, obviously. Oh, Michkov looks terrible, blah, 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 blah. I'm not saying Michkov's been perfect. I've never said that once at all this year. He's had some bad games. He's had some bad turnovers, blah, 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 blah. Trying to make plays happen, trying to force plays to happen. That's going to happen. It's going to happen. But you can't diminish the things that he does well. I think that's the case. You can't diminish the things that he does well. I don't know. And people try to tie this to the Cutter Gauthier situation. We'll never know why Gauthier won out. We'll never know why Cutter won out. Whether it was something that the Chuck Fletcher regime promised him, and then the Danny Briere situation, that regime, and Jonesy and all that stuff, they went back on a promise that they never made, and Gauthier took it to heart and got hurt, and he wanted out, wanted nothing to do with this. Whether it was a Torts situation, whether it was somebody getting into his ear, like a Kevin Hayes possibly, whether it was that, or whether it was simple as he wanted to burn the year off the ELC and the Flyers didn't because Couturier wanted to get paid sooner and the Flyers didn't want to do that. I don't know. Whether it was about playing in the AHL or something like that, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out something here, and I don't know where it's going to lead. Because Michkov he has so much talent. And I don't know whether the Flyers are trying to hinder that. Now, like I said, I'm not saying Michkov is innocent in this entire thing because he didn't do anything for 4 months in the offseason. He clearly showed up out of shape. But I still think in that process, he's still been the best player for this team, besides like Trevor Zegras and, Cam York, Jamie Drysdale. Skaters on the ice. I'm not counting a goaltender or Dan Vladar. I still think Michkov, especially lately, has been one of their better players. I just don't know what they're trying to do with this entire thing. I don't know if the locker room lost respect for him. I don't know if the front office is frustrated with him. I don't know if Tocchet's, selling us false goods. I don't know. Tocchet could be lying because he definitely said in preseason and all that stuff, we got to cater to Michkov, blah, 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 and all that stuff. Really hasn't done that. I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. I really don't know where to go with all this because it's just, like I said, it's just always something with the Flyers. Always something with the Flyers, and I just never know. Oh my God. I just don't know. I just don't know. And just when I see that interview more, and when I look at Couturier's body language, I just don't know. It just feels off. It feels off. I don't know. I really don't know. I really don't know. I just don't think what Couturier said in his press conference, granted it wasn't malicious or anything like that. It's just the way that he, the words and all that stuff, the body language, it just feels like, because basically it's not something that you say to the media. This is not something that you say to the media. This is something that you keep behind closed doors. And I don't know what going to the media, Couturier saying this, does anybody any good. And maybe that quote from Tocchet earlier today, maybe that was damage control. Maybe there was something on the ice in practice today between Michkov and Couturier. Maybe mend the tide a little bit there. I'm not sure. I am not sure. But it feels like something is off, and I just feel it deep down that something is off. People can tell me that something isn't wrong, and granted, a lot of the Flyers media will tell you that nothing is wrong, because it's the Flyers media. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I want my negative thoughts to be proven wrong. Granted, I hope there's nothing wrong. I want to be proven wrong. Michkov plays great the rest of the day, and granted, I do think Michkov's going to get better as the season goes along because he's just too talented not to. As Michkov continues to improve, he gets more ice time. Tocchet puts him in a better position to succeed and all that stuff. And everything there. It's just right. Like I said, it just feels so off because of where the team is right now record-wise, and they're actually playing good hockey for the most. Granted, not the slow starts, but that's another topic for another fucking day. Something just feels weird. And I don't know if this is just going to simply blow over, or this is something that's just going to fucking linger. I don't know. Now, a lot of people want to clamor to trade Couturier and all that stuff. You're not going to be able to trade Couturier. I'm sorry. You're just not going to be able to trade him. The contract is not movable. 1, he's got a no movement clause. 2, he's making above $7 million. 3, no one's going to take that contract. Unless you attach a lot for someone to take the contract. And if you were to take the contract, you would probably have to retain salary. And you don't want to do that, obviously. So you're stuck between a rock and a hard place with that situation. People say trade Konechny. Granted, I was never a fan of the Konechny contract to begin with, so I don't know. I don't know. It's all weird. It's all weird. I don't know yet. I'm just getting text messages. Sorry, I had to read it. I just don't know where to go. I don't know where to go with all this. I really don't know where to go with all this. As I'm reading my text messages. I know there's people right here in the chat, so I guess I'll go over. We don't have any voicemails or anything like that, so I could just discuss with you guys in the chat right here to see with everything going on. Let's go, you guys, in a chat right here. Sorry, I'm like, like I'm like by the like I'm discussing this right now. Like I'm getting something from somebody. I'm not obviously I'm not going to talk about it because I just can't because it's closed doors type of shit. But I want to hear. I want to see what you guys are saying in the chat right here. Dan, I'm sure this will end well. It's not. It's a nothing burger. So let me see. Carter, Montreal wants Demidov to play the right way. I feel like St. Louis is still putting him in a position. Granted, I don't think Demidov's ice time has been like anything drastic either, but I still feel like he's putting Demidov in positions to succeed. So maybe there is something to that. I'm not entirely sure. A lot of people would just like to point out it's just the way that these teams handle Russian players and all that stuff. I'm not entirely sure. So maybe that could be part of the aspect. Robert, Michkov should request a trade. It worked out well for Cutter. I feel the Flyers are holding him back. And then Franco telling Robert to respectfully be quiet. That's funny. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, I just think like for the most part, like this is definitely worthy of discussion, if that makes sense. I think we're like right to talk about this. And like when people like because I'm sure there's like Flyers people on Twitter right now, like obviously I think I've seen Charlie O'Connor like talking about like people are like getting themselves way too much amped up on Twitter right now. And then I think Kevin Kurtz like responded to somebody saying like there's nothing to this or something like that. So obviously those Flyers people are going to say there's nothing, obviously. But I do think something's just a little bit off to where like okay, the team's having success right now, but why is this something that we need to talk about? If that really makes sense. If that really makes sense. It's weird. Like I said, this is a weird situation to be in. And I really don't know where to go. I guess it's just something that you monitor and see how it goes as the season goes along. I don't know. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I don't know. I really don't know, man. So, what else is here? Will CC. He is a pure offensive talent. He will never be a great defensive player. Yeah, I agree with that. TK and Coots don't like him. Trade them before Michkov. Well, I don't think they have a consideration to trade Michkov unless Michkov were to request a trade out. So I don't think that's even a part of the discussion. You can't trade Couturier, sadly. That's just not on the books because of the contract. And Konechny's contract's probably not movable. I'm sure somebody would take Konechny, but somebody would like, I don't know who would take him. That's the thing. Not to like downplay Konechny as a player, but like I'm still in the mindset with Konechny that contract is a slight overpay. Obviously, don't like the term, and I would have traded him more when he was in the final year of the deal to get more assets out of it. Because somebody would have given up a lot for Konechny at the money he was making before the contract expired and all that stuff. That's what I would have done at least. And when this team is in a position to succeed, maybe, is Konechny really going to be in the best prime years of his life? Now, granted, what is Konechny, like 29 years old or something like that? Or like 28 years old? I think he's like that. He's 28 years old. So he's basically right in the midst of his prime. And realistically, prime in hockey players goes from like, what, 27 to like maybe early 30s. And granted, Konechny's like a different player. So, small player, plays with a lot of aggression, a lot of animosity and all that stuff. There's a big motor in there. And maybe that can run out quicker in those style of players. Unless you're like insanely talented, like a guy like a Brad Marchand. And nowhere near is Travis Konechny Brad Marchand. I don't think that's anything in the world right there. So, I still, not saying that I don't like Konechny. I just like, probably would have rather traded him. Especially if you're a team that was that's in a rebuild. That's the thing where I think they went wrong in that standpoint. Also extending fucking Owen Tippett. I think that was wrong. Tyler, I think that this should blow over quickly for me. This team feels different this year. They got the extra pep in their step, and Mitch can only get better. I mean, if you want, yeah, I would love to feel that way. There definitely does feel a little bit something different about the team this year. Definitely, they're playing much better, but I don't know. It's like for a team that's playing so well, why are we talking about this? That just feels weird. You know what I mean? Jason, I think they have an issue with Michkov always cherry picking and not helping defensively on the breakout. That's probably where most of it lies in terms of his game, overall game. But I don't know. I just feel like you should just let the player be himself. I feel like you shouldn't really hinder what makes him good, if that makes sense. Because I don't really see much teams in other situations do that. Now, maybe, like I said, maybe like going back to the Carter comment earlier about Demidov and Montreal they want him to play the right way. Maybe it's just a thing with Russian players. Maybe that could also be something. Not entirely sure. Can't deny Mitch has really good playmaking and goal scoring. Like, yeah, like in terms of like pure talent on the team, the best players in terms of pure raw talent are Michkov and Trevor Zegras. And yeah, you should extend Trevor Zegras because he's one of the most talented players on the team. Michkov. It's going to be the face of your franchise. In terms of other young players that are, I'm sure when Porter Martone comes onto the team, he's going to be one of the more talented players on the team. I still think there's something there to Tyson Forrester's game. And he definitely was playing well until he went down with the injury, and I'm sure when he comes back, he'll be fine. Like, if I'm just looking at the best players on the team right now, it's Zegras. Cam York has been playing very well under this system with Tocchet. Same thing with Jamie Drysdale. Those guys look completely different with their games, so that is something to definitely look positive towards. Sanheim's always been solid. He's always been a very steady guy there, ever since, for a little bit here. He's been very, very, very steady, so there's definitely some good things there with Sanheim. So I said Michkov, Zegras, the defenseman. Forrester, I think, is one of their better players. Konechny should be up there. It just feels like Konechny's getting points. Like, don't get me wrong, he is getting points. It still doesn't look like he's playing well, in my personal opinion. He just doesn't look right. And you could still get points when you're not playing right or looking right. I don't know, and yes, when Konechny does go off, he goes off in bunches. Like, he's more consistently than, say, like an Owen Tippett is. But it's just like, when's it really going to come out? Or if it's going to come out? I don't know. I really don't know. So I think that's basically all that I have off my chest right here. I just don't really understand. It's like something. I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. weird. It's weird, it's weird, it's weird, it's weird. I think that's the only way I could describe it. It's weird. It's weird that we have to talk about this when the team is finding success, if that makes sense. This Sunday night football game is trash. Well, the Pittsburgh Steelers are in Sunday night football, so I don't know what you're expecting there. How bad is it? Let me look. It's 3-2. It's 3-2. I've been 3-2 in the second quarter. It's 3-2. So what? Fucking Pittsburgh got a field goal and the Chargers got a safety. Honest to God, if the score were to stay like that, that would be fucking amazing. That would be fucking hilarious. If the score were fucking scoregami right there, man. Fucking scoregami. That is funny. That is funny. We do have Monday Night Football tomorrow with the Eagles, so we'll definitely get back into Eagles recaps tomorrow. So, tomorrow, Sunday Night Football, that game will start around like 8:15 or something like that. So, recap will probably be late tomorrow, but we'll recap this nonetheless for the Birds to get back in the win column. Well, not get back into the win column, come back from the bye week, get in the win column and all that crap. But yeah, definitely a weird fucking day. Definitely a weird fucking day, and this is something that we're just going to continue to monitor as the fucking days go along. So, yeah, I hate talking about this, as you could tell. I hate talking about this when the team's 8-5-2, whatever it is. That's always something with the Flyers. Always something. So I really don't know. So that'll do it for tonight, everybody. So I appreciate the few that did tune into this and all that stuff. I really wish I was able to stream on Twitter because I probably would have gotten more of you guys in here. But, of course, when you use a third-party system like OBS, you can't stream to Twitter without either having Twitter Premium or having a certain amount of followers. And I have neither. I'm not shelling money out for Twitter Premium. Granted, I probably will do that in the near future or something like that just so I can pump more content out there and maybe get more people to the channel. Maybe that would be a good investment. But it's something weird. It's something weird. But yeah, we'll definitely have a discussion about this as the Flyers games go along. So, like I said, it's something to monitor, and we'll have our Eagles recap tomorrow. So I'm just trying to think of the schedule for this week. Eagles obviously are tomorrow. There's nothing on Tuesday. Flyers are Wednesday. I'm sure there's Sixers game in between, so if we have time to talk Sixers, we'll have time. And that's basically just it. And until the Phillies make any news or anything like that, I guess they're worth talking about. So, weird day, people. Just a weird fucking day. So, we'll see. We'll see. So, don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Don't forget to drop a like. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It does me a great deal of service. And also use the code TTPSPORTS, $20 off your first purchase at SEATGEEK. Great deal. Don't pass it up. So, appreciate y'all for tuning out that did, and for the people that tune in after the fact, appreciate you as well. So, yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Go Birds. Go Birds.